You're watching ABC 7 News at 11.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Jacqueline Matter. In Washington, Americans are paying tribute to Senator John McCain, lying in state at the Capitol Rotunda. That's where Republican and Democratic colleagues of past and present started their day today, honoring the late senator surrounded by his family. ABC's Elizabeth Herr has more from Capitol Hill.
Thousands of Americans saluting Senator John McCain, lying in state in the Capitol Rotunda, a rare honor granted to only 30 other people before McCain. The day's tribute beginning outside with an honor guard carrying McCain's flag-draped casket into the U.S. Capitol in the pouring rain. Inside, colleagues putting politics aside and gathering with the McCain family, including his 106-year-old mother, Roberta.
He had America's fighting spirit, our noble idealism, our solemn patriotism, and our slightly irreverent streak all rolled into one.
This is one of the bravest souls our nation has ever produced.
Vice President Mike Pence also there speaking on behalf of President Trump, absent from the service.
We gather here today to honor an American patriot. Served a cause greater than himself.
This commemoration closing with a break from protocol with a bipartisan wreath-laying ceremony, all planned by McCain himself. And tomorrow, Senator McCain's life will be celebrated at the National Cathedral. That is where Presidents Barack Obama and George W. Bush will deliver eulogies. That is said to be McCain's final request. Elizabeth Herr, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Today marks the final goodbye for Aretha Franklin, the legendary Queen of Soul. Franklin's music forged deep connections with people all across the world. That was clear as thousands rolled into the Greater Grace Temple to say thank you and goodbye. Among the group of guests and speakers inside, Bishop T.D. Jakes, former President Bill Clinton, also paying tribute to the Queen of Soul.
She took this massive talent and decided to be the composer of her own life song. What a song it turned out to be.
Franklin was nominated for 44 Grammys, taking home 18 of those awards. She passed away on August 16th at the age of 76 from pancreatic cancer. A warning to parents tonight to monitor your child's cell phone and social media accounts after a Plant City man was arrested for traveling to Sarasota County to have sex with an 11-year-old child. Deputies say 30-year-old Stephen Roa is a registered sex offender in Plant City. The relationship between Roa and the student all started on an app called Big O Live, which is a live streaming platform. It then progressed to Snapchat and text messages, ultimately leading to the suspect and victim meeting up in a parking lot along her school route where they met to engage in sexual activity. The victim's mother called police after she discovered that Roa and her daughter had been exchanging sexually explicit photos. Deputies say monitor these apps and social media sites as often as possible.
Most sex offenders are able to use the internet and have social media platforms. They just are required to report those social media sites.
Deputies are not disclosing what school this child went to, only that it is in Sarasota County. If you were at a high school football game in Manatee County tonight, you likely noticed more safety measures in place. School officials say they're increasing security after a shooting that happened last weekend in Jacksonville. The district says they are no longer allowing backpacks or large purses inside the stadium, only clutches. Every game will have at least 4 sheriff's officers and school resource officers. The district says that they are making sure to pay more attention to the parking lot after that recent shooting in Jacksonville.
We're just putting a greater emphasis on making sure we have a bigger presence in the parking lot before and after games, making sure people aren't hanging around the perimeter of our facilities, and getting them in and out as clean and quickly as we can.
There were about 6 officers at tonight's game at Manatee High School versus Palmetto, along with Palmetto High's school resource officers as well. Today is Overdose Awareness Day, and one group in Manatee County is honoring those struggling with addiction. Friends and relatives of those impacted by overdose and addiction rallied today north of the Green Bridge in Palmetto. They also marched to reduce the stigma of drug-related deaths. Now they hope more people will recognize the growing number of those who are struggling with drug abuse so victims can get the help that they need.
We need counselors. We need places for these people to go after they get out of rehab. It's not just a 90-day program that's going to save your life.
The Center for Disease Control estimates more than 64,000 people died from drug overdoses in 2016. Well, conditions are improving along local canals as crews continue cleanup efforts from the recent red tide outbreak. All the canals we checked out today are showing less dead fish compared to the last few weeks. Manatee County officials say conditions have also improved on our local beaches. Coquina and Cortez beaches are all clean of dead fish. The Bayside, the North and South Coquina beach boat ramps and Bayfront Park do have a moderate amount of seaweed and dead fish, however. And the Coast Guard warning boaters to prioritize safety while heading out on the water this weekend. Coast Guard crews and local law enforcement will be patrolling the water and conducting safety checks throughout the holiday. Officials want to remind boaters to never operate a boat while under the influence, keep life jackets nearby, and monitor weather broadcasts. Lastly, let's take a look at our stock numbers today before we check our first alert forecast. The Dow Jones Industrial slightly down, but up arrows for both the NASDAQ and S&P. Bob, you join us now with the weather. We were talking about if you are heading out on a boat to be cautious of what the weather conditions are going to be like.
Yeah, in the afternoon and evening, there's been marine warnings every afternoon for the last 3 days now. So these storms get strong, they move off into the Gulf, and they cause all sorts of problems. And each day we've had winds up to 50 miles an hour with some of the cells. So that is not the best thing to be boating in. Get your boating done early. It looks like ABC 7 tower cam showing a nice sunset again tonight. Beautiful out there. We had some clouds around and some amazing rays, sun rays peering through the clouds. Although as the sun got below those clouds, it really didn't have much more after that. So we didn't see a spectacular sunset, but nonetheless, it was beautiful. And you can see from these photos, and a lot of them sent in. I've posted them on our Facebook page. You want to check them out a little bit more in detail. Get a look at them there. It looks like an alien spacecraft landing in Northwest Bradenton right there by Rob. Appreciate that. And Mindy Towns getting this one from Longboat Key. And that is called a shelf cloud. It's attached to the thunderstorm, and boy, they were impressive. More, as I said, on my Facebook page. The red tide change. So this is the change of percentage of red tide sampling that has been going on for the past 5 days now. Some good news and bad news, really. Bad news is that Hillsborough is included now in the red tide area. Good news is Manatee County is showing a greater than 25% lowering of the red tide bloom. Also, Collier County involved in that as well. Lee County is staying pretty much the same as it has been. Hasn't had much of a change there, but unfortunately, Sarasota and Charlotte counties showing a 5 to 25% higher concentration of the red tide over the past 5 days compared to last week. So there you go. I also have it on our app. You can check that out, or on mysuncoast.com. One lone shower has popped up this evening near Arcadia. Elsewhere, things were quiet for football Friday night across the area. So it looked to be pretty good, and it cooled down as a result of the rain that we had earlier. So that was kind of a nice benefit too, although the fields were a little bit soggy. And golf courses are, for the most part, cart paths only, or closed in some cases due to the heavy rain we've seen over the past few days. We had 2.5 inches of rainfall just south of Osprey earlier today, and that is still, there's some flooding problems out there. Now we're watching this tropical wave. It is really flaring up tonight near Haiti. That's a tremendous amount of rain falling there. The news is, though, the winds are still very strong on the upper levels of the atmosphere due to a trough of low pressure off the east coast of Florida. The chances of it developing have increased now from the National Hurricane Center over the next 5 days. We don't expect anything over the next few days, but once it gets into the Gulf of Mexico, there's a chance, a little bit better chance, that conditions will become a little bit more favorable for development. Well, conditions are favorable for this to develop, but the news is it's going to stay out there in the Atlantic. It's not going to have an impact on any land area as it moves off basically to the west and then to the northwest. You can see the deep convection starting to develop. Its name will be Florence, and more than likely will get that name on Saturday. While the shear in the atmosphere continues to be strong and will be so on Saturday and Sunday right over us, and that's good because that will not allow that system to develop or strengthen much. In the Pacific, it's been a hotbed of activity this season. They have 2 storms out there right now. Thankfully, they are not having an impact on any land at this time, but Hawaii could have some problems down the road. Next name is Florence. After that, it will be Gordon for us here along the Atlantic Basin. For boaters tomorrow, seas will be running at 2 feet, moderate chop and light chop in the morning. Let's get to the 7-day forecast and show you what's happening. Rain chances at 40% on Saturday. We'll have sunshine in the morning, same on Sunday, then afternoon and evening storms. Better chance for more widespread rain on Monday and Tuesday. Be sure to download that ABC7 app as well. Just go to your app store and do a search for WWSB ABC7 First Alert Weather, and it's free. And we'll have weather updates on that. You'll get advised as to any kind of flooding problems or advisories that come over for strong storms. So keep that in mind and keep it with you wherever you go.
All right, certainly something to keep in mind, especially with the Labor Day weekend if you see some
absolutely.
rain in the area. All right, thank you, Bob. And thanks for joining us. Straight ahead, Football Friday night with Adam Cellini and Dwayne Lindo. Thanks for joining us and have a great night.